All right, we've got the November land use meeting here that we just started. So far, we've only got 3 folks, and unfortunately, this has been a downward trend for a little while. So we will go through updates, and if community comes in with things that they want to talk about, we can address that, and then we'll have time for NPI discussions. And if there are folks who have questions and want to talk about that. Otherwise, this may be a very short meeting. And yeah. And, Rod, obviously, you and I need to connect on figuring out how to get back to, either
Right.
the in-person that we've kind of talked about, and, we start that next year.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I've been itching to sort of do that because it's been frustrating the last few months. So
yep, I think we need to. We've had no zoning or variance requests that have come, which it's the lull has been kind of nice. Usually over the holidays, maybe it's still coming, but over the holidays it gets crazier when people are trying to push stuff through.
Yeah.
We have no requests, and the couple of updates we have, we'll kind of go through. But in the meantime, we don't.
Yeah. Well, here you want me just to run down through it, and we'll get to.
Yeah.
So, well, really, first, Bill, do you have anything? Because to put on the it's for sort of open comment session for public comment. Did you have everything you wanted to bring to the table?
Happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Same to you.
Where's the people? What'd you do with the people?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to try to blame it on me.
No, I'm saying that's what you should be saying to us. Like, what'd you do with the people?
Yeah.
No, the other way around, Bill.
Well, and Melissa, if you want to bring in some stuff, you can bring up topics too. You're about our most regular person here in our neighborhood. And
and honestly, I think it's going to be short. What I do want to cover is some of the quick updates that we have, and then especially the NPI dates and that we just kind of learned what are the next few steps. So I want to make sure those are on there, those get recorded, and that we push that information out. Obviously, there's nobody here from the general public that's not kind of a regular person on this committee, so we don't have that. Anyway, we can jump right to Melissa, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want me to share the screen, or did you want to share the screen, Melissa?
I'm happy to share the screen.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes I have a problem following along with you because you just, when I'm scrolling up and down on your presentation.
Okay, give me 1 second here. My computer's just a little slow. It's been a long day.
Oh my God, you have no
idea. We missed you at the last steering committee meeting, right? You weren't there yesterday.
I was not. I got sent to Brun instead. So.
Oh, wow. I want to know what's going on there. That's more important.
Well, they're having a sipper with you next week.
Yes, they are. We're trying on so many fronts. And honestly, I think this front now requires some more attention that I haven't given it. But this is something we need to work on, Rod and I.
Well, I think they feel the same way. So they're super excited to get together with you.
Cool.
All right, let's see here. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see all this.
You see it.
All right, we'll move this here. All right, so as Trupti mentioned, we are just encouraging everyone to participate. This is a kind of one of your last chances to kind of impact how this plan is going to look and feel. These are the changes, the last chance that we can make changes. So the public comment period will close after this holiday weekend on Monday. So we're asking people to please take time to do that. So there is a way to, read the plan, comment on it directly, or leave just general comments. You can even contact city staff and talk to Sun. So many ways to do that. Landmark preservation design guidelines. I won't go over that for you as much because you don't have any landmark districts, but for any of the landmark structures, they are looking at their rules for windows. That is one of the most commonly cited concerns that people have with landmark structures. So they are looking at window replacement guidelines. There's a survey for people to take. So I encourage you to do that.
Fatigue, survey fatigue. I've got
Yes.
survey fatigue.
Everyone wants your opinions, right? So then we also have residential rental property license. If you own a residential rental in the city and county of Denver, you need to have a license for it by January 1st. So they have many different ways that they can help you in that process. There are some free question and answer sessions if you want to go to one of those. They are not held near Northwest Denver. If you want something a little closer, you can actually schedule an in-person appointment at Web and talk to them for 15 or 30 minutes, or do that via Teams and talk to them online, same thing. So that information is available there. The Cherry Creek and Spear Boulevard Vision Study. Spear Boulevard is one of the major ways to get out of the Highland into out of Northwest Denver and into downtown and through there to Cherry Creek. So the city is in the middle of a visioning study on this. This is not a construction project yet. This is just to develop a realistic vision on how to improve how people move through the corridor. Right now, it's treated almost as a highway through the city. And with the upcoming developments in Ball Arena and the River Mile, et cetera, there is an interest in improving that connection, the connections that will happen on the west side to the city, and you have to get over Spear. So there is an open house on November 30th, and then there will be an interactive online version of that open house that will open next week on their webpage. Denver Moves bike update. You can take a survey, Shruti, in case you were looking for a survey to take.
To be fair, I've done most of these already, so like, I mean, they're not too bad.
No, me too. But like when I send so many things out, and out and out, I mean, I'm fatigued by just doing that. And
right. Well, I can't ever remember. It's like, because I get multiple emails about it, and I can't ever remember if it's like, did I do that one? Did I not do it?
Yeah, I did do this one too.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to, they're looking to update their bikeways map. So they're wanting to know how people get around, some ways that they can improve it. So take the survey, attend their virtual open house. Links to both of those on that. The Northwest Central Transportation Network. They are excited to announce that it is complete. So you can see, phase 2 projects that they are looking at, but they completed phase 1. Here are some of those connectors. It's through all the neighborhoods: Berkeley, Chaffee Park, Jefferson Park, Regis, Sloan's Lake, Sunnyside, and West Highlands. Just looking for better ways, safer ways for people to get around outside of vehicles.
Yeah. Do you know if they've finished that Tejon side of it? Remember, because they had tabled Tejon as like, we need to study this further. But there was, and did they just say, forget it, it's not going to happen, and we have enough north-south, and Tejon doesn't need to be one of them?
Well, if you look on that, let's see here.
I was just waiting for them to be like, okay, we're still talking about Tejon. Here's a meeting, with the consultant group.
Or 46.
So here's all their construction projects that have completed. Obviously, Tejon is not on that. Then if you look under the design projects, here it is.
Yeah, from 46, there's that one from 46 to 32nd, Troop D.
Oh, no, I know that. I've known this for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
It's been tabled, and I'm wondering, I didn't know. I'll follow up. So it's still in the design set.
It is.
I need to follow up and find out where they're going. Do we have a date to work on it?
Yeah, I don't see any dates.
Do not have a construction date as of yet. So they're still, go ahead.
It's not even designed yet, right? I mean,
it looks like, Troop D, it's in a color that needs further study still.
Right. That's right. So I think I will need to follow up with them because that's just an open thing on this CTN from our side, for the Northwest or whatever it's called, Central Transportation Networks, or I can't remember too many acronyms, but it's been tabled for a couple of years. I just don't know if they've moved at all and where they are on the study.
Yeah, because I bike down Tejon quite a bit, and it is kind of one of the more dangerous places to bike. I mean,
And there were people who
Absolutely.
like, that's the one it should be. It's the perfect spot. It was like, you're going right
Well,
into
yeah, because
over the bridge and into downtown, that is the most direct.
go
So
to
there were people fighting
Little
it.
Man ice cream. Yeah, it's straight shot,
Yeah. But businesses didn't want it. They wanted a protected bikeway. They decided to scrap that because there was enough opposition, especially for businesses from 38th South, so, and that's why they kind of did a TBD. I was trying to figure out whether they've come to a conclusion of a yay, nay on it. That's all.
Well,
No, it
these
doesn't look like it.
documents haven't been
Interested.
updated since 2022.
Okay, so there you go. So no. Okay,
There's your answer on that. Granted,
thank you.
this is public facing, so internally there may be some more,
Correct.
you
We'll
know,
follow
more
up and
documents.
find out.
So, all right, let's see here. So, move along here.
Oh, I am
Inside.
interested in the West Highlands active corridors, right? I think we're moving towards something on 32nd, and I want to know where they are, and because again, we kind of have a similar maybe we will. So I want to follow along some of the progress over there. And Bill, you're here, and you probably know what's going on there too.
Yeah,
would love to hear about it.
We're trying to pull off a town hall and struggling with a venue, but we've sent letters notifying landowners that are potentially affected. So we're stumbling along, but getting there slowly.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to follow along because, we may be in a similar boat when we try to do something. So it's always nice to kind of follow the progress. And also, if you guys are tweaking portions of it at all, no, it's going to be like the Tennyson one will go directly on there type of thing. Oh, that's actually easier than what we're trying to do. Okay, good to know. That's kind of what I was wondering.
I'm always happy to let Bill plow the trail.
Believe me, Bill has not been very effective.
Okay, but you guys have a plan because you're able to apply something that already exists. That's
what we're attempting. Yes.
You don't have to spend a year on trying to figure out the changes to it. So now it's a matter of getting it adopted and getting buy-in. So, okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. That was kind of all I needed to, understand because I've been meaning to ask. Thank you.
Well, I knew
yeah, it's not on our land use slides because it's not really out to the community as much yet. This is just their first meeting will be with property owners and affected businesses.
Gotcha.
So the only thing that really, besides of course the near Northwest Area Plan, which we already talked about, is the proposed ADU rezoning, and we could use your guys' help in getting the information out there. So we are having our first virtual meeting this Saturday morning, 10 a.m.
Oh wow! I'm sorry. Did I miss this already? That because usually you guys tell us ahead of time, and we would have already put this out there. Oh, I'm so sorry.
So well, we had talked about that we were doing this, and then this moved ahead rather suddenly.
Okay.
Because CPD was not showing any expediency. So we decided to take this on and move this along.
I think you're going to have a lot of interest. I mean, I don't know if I can drive anybody to this call, but a subsequent call for sure. I think, and then if you guys have that recorded meeting posted somewhere, okay. I do think you're going to have overwhelming support because people have been talking about this. So I think that's a good thing, but please, sorry about me dropping the ball on anything over here to get it.
No, I'm happy to share some stuff here after this. So, again, we are moving forward on this. We're gathering feedback from residents that are impacted. So there is just a small area of Sunnyside left to rezone to allow ADUs. It's just kind of a weird little section in both CO7 and CO8.
Yeah.
We have mailed a postcard to all impacted residents that should have been received the week of October 16th.
Okay, great.
We have followed up with a flyering of all residents this past Saturday. They should have received a flyer on their door. And so, Rod, did you not receive a flyer?
No. I just had a question. I was just
Okay, it was like, I thought you were not in this area.
when you're done, I was trying not to distract you. Sorry. I need to
No.
learn to use the little hands up thing.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're encouraging people to take our survey so that we can get to a statistically significant number, to show whether this has support or not. So this is going to be a joint rezoning with both Sunnyside and Berkeley. Just for you, because
the
we're on this
survey,
call.
On the survey, you need that from the impacted homes, right? When you talk about the number,
Correct.
I mean, not from me, because I'm not being impacted currently by this, but from the impacted homes. Okay.
I had someone at 11th and Race take it. I have no idea how he got my survey. Here.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that you guys have taken it on, because we were like, is it, CPD going to do this as part of moving, NPI? Because there was some back and forth about that, originally. So I'm happy it's moving forward.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. Obviously, this is something I'm still in process on, but here is kind of the area that you can see in this teal color. Sorry, I have really large screens, so sometimes when I share, things can come across as very small. There's that, and you can already see, I'm going to use this slide, but you can see all of this area in blue is already allows ADUs. So the vast majority of Sunnyside already allows it, minus that industrial area, the campus zoning, and some old chapter 53 or 59 zoning, sorry. That's which are in those gray areas there. So really this is, just bringing these areas of Sunnyside in with the rest of them to allow ADUs. So we have both that little area and then these little areas in Berkeley still remaining. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what we had. What did you have, Rod? Sorry.
So I was wondering if, because this came up with a property, I still haven't started construction on it yet. You're talking about areas that are designated USUC or USUB without the one on them, correct? Because that's
no B's left, at
right.
least in these areas. So it's all C.
Okay, so it's all C. There in that area, you said that most of Sunnyside already allows ADUs, that area.
Yes.
That's actually incorrect in the sense that there are a significant portion of those parcels that are the 37.5-foot wide lots that were all zone C1, but they don't meet the minimum 5,500 square foot lot requirement. So is this exercise going to address that as well? Or those people will still have to go through the zone lot map amendment process?
They will have to go through that. This is just, does the zoning allow it? Not can you actually build it? That's
okay. I just wondered because it's like it's kind of a no, they're just, it still takes 7 months to do, even though it's pretty much just paper pushing, because they were all basically zoned incorrectly when they were done, when they were made C1.
Right.
They should have been listed as B1s, and they weren't. So it's kind of like the city, I feel like the city
broad brushed it and basically said, yeah, we think the majority of these things are C lots. Good enough.
Yeah, there's a ton right around my house. Like, I look at all these lots, and I'm like, that one doesn't work, that one doesn't work. And those people call me and like, hey, we want to build a ADU. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to take 7 months just to get your lot to, conforming. So, everything else about it conforms. So
you can see a lot of these sliver ones that would never qualify, right?
Yeah, well, they qualify, but you just have to get them to B1.
Right, well, without a rezoning.
Right.
But in theory, the zoning does allow it.
Yes.
In practice, you cannot build it.
Right.
But
yeah. So anyway, I just thought maybe you guys could slip that in there, and you would open up a ton more people and make them happy.
No, but I will certainly let the councilwoman know.
Yeah,
I think that's one of those. She. I
feel like it shouldn't even be the councilwoman. It should be like, all of this is online and digital anyway, and they could just go in and make alterations, and nobody really would pay attention, and just change them to B1.
Amendment. Yeah, I don't disagree, But as someone that's been tinkering in our GIS, I have concerns. I'm not sure some of them can.
Yeah, well, I mean, all they'd have to do is just say any lots that weren't 5,500 square foot at the time of assigning them C1 will be now B1, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Anyway, sorry to distract.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's just that's not what this one's particularly doing.
Right.
This one is only going to add a 1 where it doesn't exist. That's it.
That is it.
Right.
Whether you can build with that one, we don't know. But
Yeah. But changing a C to a B seems just as easy.
So, yeah, I will send you this stuff, Trupti.
Is it already on your in the archives, in the link, in this land use, right? All of these updates are already there, correct?
Yeah, minus the slides I just had up, which I'm still working on for Saturday.
Oh, okay. Then I'll wait. Till because normally what we try to do is kind of just send folks to here it is.
Oh yeah, no, this you can share no problem, and this is already up. But
Okay,
these slides, these will be presented at the town hall on Saturday.
Okay, cool.
For attendees
Cool.
that are interested in spending their Saturday morning with us.
Yeah, and I'll send out obviously we have the recording, but I will just send out notes on just a few things because I think this is going to be an attention grabber, right? Because this is something that a lot of people have been kind of waiting for, but clearly all the folks who are impacted are getting this. So I think.
Well, and you can let me show you. Like it's kind of sad. So these again, I don't know. I'll try.
Oh, these survey results so far. Okay.
These are what I have for Sunnyside so far. Which is a little, I mean, like, it's a little sparse. We do obviously need more people to participate, but that's what we had as of like 5:30 this morning.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I will ask our social media guy to take some of these maps, like the map that says here's the properties that are being impacted, and then kind of do a call to action saying if you've not already taken the survey, take the survey. So see if we can get a little boost over there. So I'll ask him to do that because even regardless of the town hall that's happening, you still are collecting surveys, right? Because you still
100%.
want that.
We're going to be collecting surveys through let's call it the end of the year.
Okay, great.
So we've got time.
Okay, I'll have him schedule a few of those postings, over the next couple of months. So make a note to myself. Thank you.
No problem. So that's all I have. I mean, minus the ADU rezoning, which we are very excited about, and the near Northwest plan. Then that's the main things for Sunnyside.
Thank you so much.
That was great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. The only other thing I had that was on your side is I just kind of shared the link in the agenda for if anybody wants to make an appointment with Amanda.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
The link is in the agenda there now.
Rod, before I forget, one of the other things that I wanted to let you know, because how we've been collecting all the notifications and sharing them here, trying to put those notifications into our drive. I've got our website person, starting basically creating a blog and we'll have kind of 2 or 3 different ones, one for zoning, one for variance, and one for excise and license. But the goal is that all of these notifications, get on there. So if we have that just, again, this is all about us being gatekeepers, and that people could be like, well, we don't get this information, only the RNO does. So that is actually in the works. Like he just tested one of the emails like we get that has all the, graphics and other things, and it looked pretty good. So we're working on that. So at that point, we could take it away from having you to do it, and we can drive people to that blog where it'll get posted.
Oh, perfect.
Just something else to keep. Just wanted to let you know we're working on, the notification side of this stuff to, again, just be more transparent.
Okay, that'd be great. Well, there really wasn't any other notifications. Like everyone had come across that I looked through that we got notified on were outside of Sunnyside. I
Yes,
mean, you know, there were really none in
I'm kind of
Sunnyside
excited about
this month. Yeah, it was
I was
like,
kind of excited not having any, heavy topics
yeah,
to
no,
deal
it
with.
was. I was like,
Um,
wow, like none. It was like, yeah. So
you know,
anyway,
something I just got today, and Rod, you may have seen it, you may not. I mean, you should have, because it comes to PCD and I think those are getting forwarded to you.
yes,
Which is that excise and license is changing or making changes to their hearing process. So they have this new draft proposal, but what's hard to tell,
I
and
did not see that one.
yeah, and so it takes you to their website, and then they have a proposed draft, and they have a public hearing coming up in a couple of weeks, maybe yeah, I think it's a couple of weeks, maybe December, early December. But what you can't tell is what's the change. So unless you see a redlined version of how we do it today, and this is what's happening, you can't really tell. You'd have to be really, really intimately familiar with the original document to be able to find. So I'm not sure what the changes are, but to the extent that there may be some changes, and if there's any change to how they interact with the RNO, and how the public can interact, that's what I'm looking for. But I've asked for additional information, so when I get that, we can share it again next month, and or via our website or whatever. But just that was a thing that just came through today, so I just don't know what the changes are. But there are probably a lot of RNOs where, and actually, Bill, Dan Schachter, right, who does all your good neighbor agreements for excise and license, right? Because
Yeah,
he, it may hit his radar.
we
He
hardly ever have any.
Oh yeah, well that's funny. Yeah, and that's probably true. I did go on. I went with him on one of the ones because I was like, "How do you guys do stuff?" And that's when I met him, and he's like, "I've been doing this for 25 years." So he may see something and like I know right away that there's a change in a process. I don't know if it impacts the RNO. I don't know if it impacts how the public participates. But those are the two things I'm asking about, and we'll make sure and we share it next month. So that was the only thing that I saw that was new. And
Yeah, I didn't get that one, Trupti. I don't see it in my inbox, or I'm actually looking at the Sunnyside.
Okay, and here's the thing: I'm signed up for like as many newsletters as you, and with our agencies as you can imagine. So I do get a lot of stuff
Right.
coming to me, and I don't know if this was to PCD or it came to me directly, but either way, I think it is something, and I think it may impact Sunnyside a little bit more because of as we grow and we have more businesses coming in areas that are still being developed, people might care, so I'm looking into it. That's the only note.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
I'm going to jump down to the unfinished business just really quick to bring up that zone map amendment for on I guess the address is, I don't know why they did this. They actually listed it as 4138 to 4120. They went down instead of up, but I think it's 4120 to 4138 Federal, which is, we've been working with them for what, years now, Trupti? 2 years. And it looks like they're moving forward with that URX3 instead of the UMX3 is what the city has kind of guided them towards. And so we went over that we had a phone call or a Zoom meeting with them. Was it a Zoom? Yeah, a Zoom meeting with them like last week. And
like 2 weeks ago, and we
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So basically, we have a good neighbor agreement. That, I mean, again, Rod is real pessimistic about good neighbor agreements, but also like the value of them. But this was a group. It's the developers have multiple properties in Northwest Denver. They live in Northwest Denver, and the consultant or the guy they hired to do this is an ex city development services kind of director, and now he does this as a living on the other side. So he approached us before we approached him even, and he was like, "Hey, if you guys want a good neighbor agreement, we'll go there." And this is back when Bobby and Catherine were still involved. And so these guys really worked with us to come up with very specific design guidelines and look-see, and that's what they're moving forward with. But then the hiccup became that NPI was in the works, and the city wasn't sure what's going to come up of federal. So they just told them to wait. And now that we have a draft and, they're able to give them a little bit more guidance, and then they move towards this. So the RX versus the MX. And the other big thing was there was one resident who was objecting to this whole thing, and they've come to an agreement with that resident, and actually a different separate GNA with them. And what they've asked us to do now is obviously change the MX to RX, but also put an addendum of the second GNA into the overall GNA. And so that's kind of the change. And really, I just owe them a new signed addendum and one little edit. But I don't think they have a date yet, but it's coming up, because it hasn't come through as a rezone date for us through the notification, but there hasn't been.
I can check with him if they have a date yet. He was supposed to notify us.
We would also get the notification from the city, because it would go through planning board and to city council. So it would be, over a 2-month period at the very least. And, I think planning board usually does it something close to a month out with their notification. So it hasn't come through, and that's why he's not bugging us to like, where is my stuff? So we will get it to them before they need it, but nothing else in terms of what they're doing has changed, but they finally have more of a, green light from CPD to move forward.
Well, and Trupti, I'm not totally skeptical of these GNAs. I question their efficacy in the period where we have to start talking about them, because so much changes between that time and when we see the final design. So there's that disconnect there. And I kind of see them as like a cheap bike lock. They really just keep honest people out, kind of thing. Like, because, if somebody a developer really decided not to pay attention to it, there's not like any, we have no recourse. And so we're really just, it gives us so the value in it is it gives us the ability to bring up those conversations. And for the most part, people that would follow a GNA, would do the stuff we're talking about anyway. So, but it's just some way for us to articulate that in an open forum. So there is value to it. And I just, it's like that. If we ever got a developer that was like this big fly by night guy that was going to come in here and they didn't want to follow by it, there's not a lot of,
that PR is all we
recourse that we have.
That would be that's true. Other than if we wanted to throw money at it, you could take them to court.
We can't even get people to show up here. We're not going to throw money at stuff.
No, but also I think on this one and the one with the property on Jason, I think we have recorded that with the the clerk.
No.
So there is that. And if you guys are ever interested in some of this, Inc. did a GNA thing, and Cherry Creek North, who is led by a lawyer, they really do a lot of these things, and they really are impactful. So if we ever need guidance on how to do them, Lou Radars at Cherry Creek North.
Radars, yeah.
And I do think the more that we do them and the more that we dial them in and tie them together so that the more sort of it just becomes a standard and will definitely help. So yeah, I'm not completely skeptical about it.
I was just pointing that out because you and I've had these conversations about it, but at least we've had 2 situations where with the GNA, people have come back to us when there were changes and there were changes of ownership hands, and they're like, we're coming back to, because we are supposed to. So, again, I agree with you. It keeps it works with the honest people, but that might be all we really have anyway.
Well, and I think that the one of the best values that it does do is gives us opportunities to talk about what the neighborhood wants,
right,
and makes people aware of that. Yeah, so it does. It's not that it doesn't have value. So
and this project and this applicant was really, very cooperative from the get-go.
Yeah,
And
it was,
they
yeah,
proposed the GNA, not
yeah,
us. They proposed the GNA before we asked for it because
proactively. Yeah.
well,
So
because he used to work for development services, so he knows about the R&O structure and that GNAs are a way to get, more support. So he suggested it. I mean, so it was unusual. Let's put it that way for us, from what I've seen. But it was good. But not a lot of changes, at least in the project itself. And they've come to an agreement, with a neighbor that was objecting. So I think that's also a good sign. For them.
which I believe what that agreement was some sort of wall or separation
Right.
between the two. Yeah.
Yep.
So just
Exactly.
so it's on the record. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to jump back to this other one right below, up in the next section, because that's really the only thing we were going to really want to talk about tonight was this update on this NPI steering committee, which again was pretty low participation rate, but
well, the steering committee, participation is a kind of a steering committee participation, right? So, I mean, I don't know if I would.
Oh, I thought this was the part you and I had about like the language and stuff we were discussing.
So there's actually two things.
Two things. Okay.
Yeah, we have two things. One was we've worked on that 44th Avenue corridor and collected feedback from community about what they want to see. And it wasn't, unlike some of the city processes, they weren't contrived where they're like, you're going to stick within this lane and here's your three choices. You tell us your 1, 2, and 3. It was like, what do you guys want? We just wanted to get an idea. And we had another volunteer who helped us we collected all the comments online and in person, and then he put it together. He kind of cataloged them by, kind of topic. Like, were they a streetscape issue, or was this a zoning issue? That type of thing. And then we turned that into a little bit of kind of design guidelines and principles. And where it kind of, the rubber meets the road on this, and I'm happy about this, which is that on the NPI side, the active corridor aspect has been coming up, not just from us, but from community as well. And we looked at the sections where this was identified, and we asked to add a little bit more clarity and use some of the language that we had from our, guidelines, principles, and to put it into the places so that when people see it, some of these specifics, are added and they're in there. And we had a conversation with Sung a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, actually. And he was like, hey, most of this makes sense. Most of there's alignment. But yeah, I see where we could add more specificity in certain sections. He actually is going to, next week, maybe Monday, I think he's sending us the exact pieces where he took what we gave him from what we heard in the community into where he updated the draft. So we were able to, do something, and that it translated into getting into the draft document. So I think that's a win. The real work will be this active corridor aspect, which, we've been talking with Councilwoman about. And on that front too, the upside is that out of the draft yesterday, what they shared with us was that, they were looking at a few projects that were under the purview of zoning, right? Because they can't do anything about capital improvements. They can't do things where Dottie, Parks, and CDOT are involved. But when looking at kind of what can we do under our control, coming out of prioritizing some tangible projects to go after, this active corridors is one of them. So the fact that we may move towards work, to address the active corridors in a kind of a more timely, meaningful way within the next year, I think that's a good thing. That that all of this work that we've been doing, a couple of meetings, and the participation is actually resulting in something tangible.
Well, and this is up on the Google Drive too.
And we just
the
shared
stuff.
this
Chris,
directly with Sung. He got the same document.
yeah, this
Okay,
is
now we
like
can-
Chris did an amazing job taking all the feedback we got, and it's an interesting read because we got, it's a pretty broad, like Trupti says, it wasn't like narrowed down to like three things. I mean, we got a lot of information back from a lot of the residents, and so this is what, and then this was like some of the stuff that we wanted to encourage, I guess, in that language that we were trying to impart to Sung so that we get that into the NPI.
And, as part of that, another thing it's kind of tangential, but I think, we can, it's related to the active corridors, which was that really talking to community about the services and the types of things they would like to see that may be missing in the neighborhood. And where this is kind of important and relevant is that, when for instance, like the Justin from A Natural Object, right? He bought the senior assistance center building. He kept the ground floor active, and he has it up for lease. The sign has gone down, so I do need to reach out to him to see if he's found someone. But as a community, if we were to ask everybody what is missing on this corridor, what type of services or type of retail, then when folks come in who have this, we could be sharing that with them, which is, hey, the community has identified these 5, 6, 7 types of services that are currently missing in the neighborhood, right? And this is where we're like, hey, in walking distance, not having to take your car, what would you want to see on that Main Street corridor? So I think that's another exercise that when we move forward with the active corridors, it's something else that we should be doing. So kind of keeping a list of the types of businesses people want so that we can share it with the owners when they have the space up for rent. So I thought that was another thing that Chris Parizo had identified that I thought was of value. So at least on this corridor.
Well, there was one other thing, Trupti, that I found interesting was we keep describing this as a corridor, which everybody has this sort of preconceived sort of vision of, like, say, Tennyson. And, so there were talks of like the CO8 and all of that type of stuff being implemented, or the DO8, I guess is. What jumped out at me, and I hadn't occurred to me, and I think there was a lot of consensus on, was this idea of nodes going down 44th, rather than this being a contiguous sort of uniform space, from Federal all the way to the park. And there was a lot of positive feedback on this idea of nodes, and creating these little special places along there, which kind of stands out and makes it different, even though I guess it is a corridor there. That sort of concept, I think, is appealing to a lot of the people in the community.
So it's actually a good segue to like some of the information shared with us last night at the steering committee in terms of next steps. So if folks have more questions on some of the 44th Avenue comments that we collected, we can move on to like the NPI update with dates and the 4 areas that they're going to move towards kind of some implementation on the zoning side of the world, obviously not the capital improvements. So let me know, because I have something I can share and you could stop sharing.
Yep. There you go.
Hold on. Now, of course, I have to like remember how to do stuff. Hold on. I'll share my screen and then open that up. Share. Bear with me. I'll pull this document up. Okay, so this was actually the deck that we were working from, and some of it is more like specific to the meeting agenda, so I may jump around a little bit, but the couple of things that I want to call out are, here are the dates. Here's the remaining schedule. We are looking at NPI adoption in 1Q 24, and November 13th, next Monday, the second public review is closing. If something pops up in there that is just out of, completely out of the blue, the NPI project team is going to let our steering committee know if something substantially changes because of some comment that came up. I don't anticipate that. They probably don't either. But in case, I just want to know, it could happen. It's going to planning board on December 6th. And again, we will get a notification. And at this point, that notification will go on our website. And so, how to participate and all the information or join via will be included in that. It's going to the Land Use and Transportation Infrastructure Committee. They call it LUTI. This is a, pre city council, correct? Right. It goes there to the LUTI, yes. And then the LUTI moves stuff forward or not move it forward. So that's December 19th. Then we've got the first reading on January 8th, and then the public hearing is scheduled at this point, January 22nd. So if nothing changes between now and then, no delays, nothing, no other issues, the 22nd, this could be adopted. That is the timeline we're working with. So this was important. I think this slide right here is going to be something we want to share out, so people know exactly the dates and then the notifications. Another thing that came up yesterday was that through the steering committee, they would like a letter of support that the steering committee kind of signs off. And we had one gentleman who drafted it. And, we could sign on to that. We don't have to sign on to that. We could write something separate. I have indicated that most likely I'm going to be working on a separate letter that's going to be sent to Planning Board, City Council, partially because it's not that I am in disagreement with stuff that's on that. It is just kind of light, and it doesn't really resonate with me 100%. There's a lot of parts of the process that I think need to be called out. Bill and I had a quick sidebar before the end of the meeting because Bill's also on that, on the steering committee. He's also here in the sunny side and on our land use. So he and I are taking this weekend to kind of go through, number one, the rest of the draft and put in some comments because, I think we both have been busy the last couple of months. And as this has been going through the public piece, I haven't sat down and there's one or two areas that I am concerned with. One was 44th, and I think everything there has worked out in terms of what I was hoping for. There are other areas. And then the process itself, I need to take some time to debrief and articulate, and not to be critical, but to, again, improvements, opportunities, what went well, what could have been done better. So Bill and I, we're kind of work together on that for that letter because we both, we're there pretty much the whole time and active. So they are asking for a letter of support. We are working on something that may be separate than the one that the steering committee may all sign on to. So there is that activity that is open. And, when we get to that point, we'll share it with you guys. But it really is coming from folks who are at the steering committee. So it's not necessarily, I'd be open to input, but I'm not open to just a lot of people complaining about something that they weren't really there for or to add it on there. This is really coming from my experience of being on this committee and what I, perceived. So I want to be thoughtful about that. And then this is the last of what I think is important that came out of the meeting yesterday that I want to share is some of the projects that they have that they're thinking about. And again, we kind of talked about there's a lot of stuff that could happen that is going to happen after this plan and this document, which provides guidance. Some of it, which is under CPD and is under the zoning and regulation. They're identifying projects that they can begin because they can, it's under their control. And the guidance is now there. So that's what they kind of focused on and shared with us. So wanted to share what those four were. One is this commercial corridor activation. And Federal Boulevard is one of those that they're going to work on. So they're talking about possible a text, a rezoning text amendment. that for that entire corridor. I mean, BRT is kind of being planned for that. That stuff is moving forward. In fact, there was an article on the Denver Post just, this week, I think, about after Colfax, Federal Boulevard is on the radar. And then the streetcar nodes. So this, and Rod, you were just talking about this idea of streetcar nodes, not new from the, Blueprint Denver side. And so they're kind of looking at those pieces. And we obviously have Tejon and 44th. And I guess 38th and Federal probably are, but at least within our neighborhood, I believe those are the major streetcar nodes. So they're kind of looking at that in terms of, prioritizing that active street level uses. That gets back to what we're talking about on 44th and gets back to what we asked them to add in terms of specificity. So we started that 44th and we're like, is this going to be impactful at all? Are we going to get anything in time to even, make a difference? And I think we have. So I'm happy that we were able to do some work and impact our draft. And it's something that's going to be one of the top 4 projects that they can execute or work on. So we've got that. The other one is this former Chapter 59 property. So basically, this is all the stuff from 2010 that they just kind of pushed aside. And now they're going to address them all to kind of bring them up to, I guess, rest of it. And Melissa, if you want to add, better language and articulate that a little better about it, but it's something that probably just needs to get done. And now they have the guidance and, putting it on the list to get it done. If you want to add, please do.
No, that's great. Yeah, getting these former Chapter 59 properties into our current code is definitely a priority for the city. There are a handful of properties, as you can see in Sunnyside, that are former Chapter 59, as well as other parts of Northwest Denver. We have less of an issue of it than other areas in Denver, but it certainly is something that does need to be addressed. And so the city is hoping to address that as part of this NPI process in the implementation phase.
And Rod, I think for a future, and this could be way future, because each of these things will then have a public process, engagement, kind of like everything else when you talk about going through a rezone, or legislative rezone. So this is just, here's that list that we're going to work on, but it's not going to happen in a vacuum, and it's not just going to happen without actual comment period. So it goes through those same steps. On the former Chapter 59, it would be an interesting exercise for us to identify those properties, right? And see kind of what they are, and we should be engaged in how they're being rezoned to make sure that kind of aligns with a lot of the other stuff that we either hear. Like I think PUDs are one of those that are probably going to get addressed. Are PUDs part of the Chapter 59? They're on their own. Will they?
No. Think of those as customized zoning. That's
customized zoning for the lot.
So
as they're
really specific.
Okay, so we will not address PUDs as part of this. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Anybody can go for a PUD on anything. So there's nobody even around that remembers Chapter 59 hardly. I mean, this is
unless your house.
I mean, it's making me feel old because essentially it's the new code was like a down zoning, so to speak, because you remember all those old R2s and R1s and all of that kind of stuff. And so
definitely before my time, but that,
I remember working under it when that was the code.
But I think it'd be interesting to see what properties.
Downzoned. Yeah.
What's that?
Do you remember all the signs when they did when they changed it?
Oh yeah.
Many people considered it a down zone, so there was all sorts of signs all over Northwest Denver.
Oh,
well, yeah, because my lot here was R2. I technically could have had 2 houses on it.
I think it'd be an interesting exercise to see how many properties we have in Sunnyside at 59, where they are, and
well, you can see them right there. There's only.
I meant like, drive by, have a picture. We know what it is. We know what the business is. I mean, of course, I'm more interested in what they're going to rezone them to. I assume it'll be, within
I'm
the
curious
context.
why they left them. Yeah, it's like
That's a different story.
Yeah, like,
It's something that we could look at, and
yeah.
when the time comes and they're actually doing this and there is that public process, or actually it may just come in as rezones coming up that are done by maybe city council or maybe the city itself, and it'll just be like a notification like any other property, which means we will get it and we can look at it or not look at it. We could discuss it, we could support it, we could not support it. So when that comes up, so it'd be good to look at them ahead of time and see like what kind of makes sense about what's around there. And if it then doesn't align with what we would think should happen there, that's when we would have a conversation with the city.
It's like less than a dozen, isn't it, in Sunnyside? I mean,
I'm sure it
It's
is.
really small.
Yeah.
If my GIS was capable of functioning at the same time as Zoom, I could show you. Unfortunately, it's not.
yeah, no,
Interesting.
that's fine.
And then we have the Quig Newton, right? Now, so this is establishing zoning to prepare the site for what is to come. So that's another thing that they're going to be working with. There's a lot of people, smart, capable people who are involved. Obviously, one of the folks was on our steering committee meeting, as part of the steering committee, sorry. And she would come and present to us if we had questions about any of this and how it's going to play out in the process. But it's quite a big process when it does start, but something to pay attention to. So we've got these kind of 4 things happening that will be executed in the future, in the near future. So I think something for us to look forward to and be prepared for, even if that's kind of educating people ahead of time, during some of these calls. So that's really the main pieces from the steering committee and the closing out of NPI that I wanted to cover. But I want to give Bill a chance to see if there's something I didn't add here from yesterday's meeting or from just like the end of NPI that you want to add.
As we talked about the other day, Trupti, my focus this weekend is going to be on the industrial area. There was a very contentious meeting several months ago, and I haven't seen a lot of follow-up from it. I did pull Sung aside and talk to him, and he described some dialogue he had with a couple of business owners, but I just haven't had a chance to go back and look at the latest draft. So that's what I'm going to do this weekend, and I'm not sure what my action plan after that will be, but that's going to be my primary focus.
And same here, because that's, to me, that's besides the active corridor piece of it that I thought was important. The other piece is like, well, I somehow I'm not 100%, don't have my arms around where we're going, what we're doing. So I need to spend a little bit of time, and I think some of that will play into what I do in my letter of support. And and maybe Melissa, maybe and I may have missed it, and Bill, you might have seen it because you were at that meeting. Were there notes shared after that particular call? Because it's live, so it's not a Zoom recording. It was live. Were there notes shared? Because I missed that. I think that might have been the one, that was the one I missed. And I do want to know kind of some of the discussions really from the notes, not just, what I heard from a couple of people. So
there's so Sung shared some minutes.
Okay.
This morning, or this afternoon at 3:00. Also, just so you're aware, and now granted, I haven't actually looked, but in theory, we do stream those meetings on Facebook Live.
That's right. Your office does it, right?
We do.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will have to go look for that. Thank you for reminding me, because that would actually be perfect. Bill, I don't know if that recording would be of use to you. If I find it, do you want me to share it with you?
Sure, great.
Okay, I think it's gonna be on Facebook, so I don't know if you're active on Facebook, or Melissa, tell me otherwise. Is there another way to get it besides Facebook?
Not yet. That's something that I'll have to do, but I don't actually have access right now. So
okay.
You'll have to rely on Facebook today.
Bill, if you have time and you want to meet for coffee, I'll have my computer there and we could both listen to it together. If you're not going to be able to find it, and you would find it of value. So yes, I will do that. So those are the main things. And had people shown up on this call, other people who are, who are not already familiar with most of this stuff, we were going to leave time for open discussion, pull up Conveo, if that, and go through some pieces and even update some comments if we had them. Unfortunately, this is where we are. Doesn't surprise me anymore, but this is where we are. So I don't think we have much more for this call, besides kind of what we've covered.
No, it's pretty sparse tonight. So, well, thanks for that update, because I didn't know a lot of that stuff, Trupti.
I will send this deck to you. And again, it's only really associated with the agenda, but then certain things that were called out, might be a little harder to find in the 256 pages, so I thought it was valuable to share this. So I'll send this to you.
Cool. Well, and Bill, if you wanted to have coffee, I'd be happy to have coffee with you too, because I had multiple conversations with Pete about up in that area with the industrial area. And
how's he doing with his master plan?
well, I've got it all. He sent it all to me. I've got it all.
We need to review that. That's right. Because I haven't seen it either, just because I haven't had time.
Well, I can share it with you too. It's just a PDF.
Oh, no,
I'll give him credit. Like, Pete has spent a lot of time and put a lot of thought into it.
Well, I think his partner, something Gannon, is the one who kind of was the maybe the architect or
Yeah. It was an architect. Yeah, John Gannon. Yeah.
John Gannon. Yeah. So I think if we wanted, like, I don't know if it's going to conflict, with kind of what's happening with NPI. I think it's an interesting conversation and study. And if somebody's done work, I definitely want to look at it and see if.
Well, I think his intent, and I don't want to speak for Pete. I mean, we did have a lot of conversations, and he was on 3 months ago. He was on here and gave a presentation with that site plan that they had put together for up there. And, really, I mean, it followed along a lot of the NPI stuff, was my impression. But what it did is, obviously his piece of the puzzle up there is the old standard fence property. And he tried to clarify what would be happening with the bridge, because that impacts his property, the one that is supposedly going to go over from Fox Island there. And my guess is his intent was to guide that conversation, so that he had a better understanding of how that would impact his property. But those are the unknowns that I don't think he's gotten answers to. And I don't think anybody does.
And that's one of the areas that I feel like it's kind of lagging, and there's a little bit of, there isn't a lot of specificity over there. They've only moved a couple of things around and have, kind of this larger, this innovation flex zone. I think they have guidance for some of the heights, and over by Inca and the light rail, and then obviously Quig is a big one. And then we have this, are we going to get a large rec center? That's another one. But some of that section right around where the bridge is supposed to land, that is an area that I think we're going to want to focus on, not right away, but it's also what I think in NPI we've said, one of these transformative projects, when that happens, we're going to have to come back and rethink about what are some of the other pieces that are going to come into play. And Quig is one of them. That rec center was another one. And this bridge was a third. And of the three, the bridge, I think, is going to happen before the other two. So if that is probably the transformative project, then all under that thing that comes into play, I want to get a better sense of what that is at some point, and then have those conversations. But I think we're probably a year away, but maybe not too much more than a year in terms of like that bridge design or,
Well, yeah, one of the other issues that he brought up was, I believe in the NPI, it calls for like 3-story heights or something over there in that area. and there were concerns or misinformation, or I'm not even sure what, because it was relayed to me that that the reason for keeping the heights lower in that area was because higher buildings would block the views from the buildings and the development that's going on in Fox Hill. And I'm like, well, I see Melissa shaking her head. So there's just a lot going on where there's information out there and talk going on that is obviously incorrect. And some of that stuff, maybe stuff that we can help facilitate, more open and transparent conversations, because I think rumors and innuendos are starting to float around, conspiracy theories, if you
Well,
will.
that far, I think more like not 100% informed and haven't pieces that are in like 5 different places that you got to put together. But I do think that, and as much as I hate to go back to that bridge, I think at some point we're going to have to discuss the impact that bridge is going to have. And I think we're probably about a year away, but that will be, something that
What, a year away from what?
Well, I think they were looking at a 3-year thing on trying to get that bridge up. I thought that's where, and this is from conversations on Fox Park. No, was it longer than that? Okay.
That sounds very quick.
Yeah.
I've heard things more like 5 to 7 years.
Okay. Well, then, 5 to 7 years could be, whether.
Well, Amanda's comments in the meeting from several months ago that was pretty contentious. I mean, she was even questioning whether it was going to happen or not. I think that was rhetorical. I don't know, Melissa, if you want to throw in here, but
Yeah, please.
It's definitely going to happen. I think.
Okay, I agree, but Amanda was throwing a little bit of doubt on it.
Yeah. So best we understand it, it is not planned until probably 2028.
Okay, that's plenty of time.
So yeah, you have some time there.
Okay.
I don't know. We are looking.
I won't be around
with them, so you won't be
I
around.
might not be around.
What do you mean? It's like 4 years away.
How far away are you? What's happening?
Yeah, what?
6 months. No kidding.
Gosh,
I don't know
you're
about
that
5
old.
years.
Jeez. But yeah, we are actually setting a meeting with the city to discuss the bridge. But that won't happen for probably another month or so.
So
We do look forward to learning some more.
So can we ask you to give us an update on whatever following, land use or 2 land use meetings where you can maybe share kind of what you guys learned? Because, we don't have the money or the time for Cora requesting this stuff. So if whatever
you
guys
would get a very disappointing amount of stuff from our office, but
no, not you guys, it would be more
I was like,
whether
no,
it's
you love to
Dottie
call
or
me, but
whoever
there's not
you're
a lot.
talking to. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You may not have access to that. So if you can just tell us kind of this high level, yeah, it's going to happen. This is the timing. There's some of these other things. My understanding is they've already started the environmental remediation over there. That's
I looked at it yesterday. It looks a little like they've got the tractors and everything moving dirt around over there.
right. Yeah, that's what, and we might want to even, ask the Fox Park people. I did reach out to them and we were trying to set up a time and then it just kind of fell through the cracks, but ask them kind of, hey, where are we from the, 2 years ago conversations? How far are you? To just kind of give us an update. So I think that's also a possibility, even at the high level, just kind of keeping it on our radar rather than, forgetting about it. All right. I think that's all I've got. And if you guys are all good as well.
Cool. I can make dinner.
Yeah.
This is going to end earlier. Sorry.
That's great. Well, thanks.
No need to apologize.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you guys again this week or this month.
Night all.
See you next month.
Yeah, see you next month.
Yep.
Good night.
All right, good night. Thanks, guys. Take care.